the Rose of Texas, Rachel Blevins. Thanks, Rachel, for coming back on the show. It is truly wonderful to see you again, and I know I speak for a lot of your fans amongst our audience. I've got to cut right to the chase. Is your president mentally capable of discharging his office? And if not, shouldn't Amendment 25 to the U.S. Constitution shortly kick in, where his cabinet members decide that after his reckless performance in Poland, he really has to go on medical grounds? Am I completely out of line in suggesting that?
Not at all, George. And first, thank you for having me back. It's great to be here on the show. And it has been a wild week here. And, you point out that he's my president. Unfortunately, this is apparently the best that America has to offer on the world stage. And we saw this week the comments that he has made. It has been bizarre to see a sitting president. First of all, I have no idea why he's going over to Poland, why he's meeting with troops there. I mean, that in and of itself is concerning. But then on top of that, he first makes the comment where he tells U.S. troops that they're going to see Ukraine. And then all of a sudden the White House comes in and says, well, no, that's not really what he meant. And then he comes out and he says that Putin can't remain in power. And then the White House comes out again and says, no, that's really not what he meant. Well, my question is, what does he mean? Because right now he's making one statement after another. I mean, they let him leave the White House. They're letting him make these speeches, and clearly they're being broadcast all around the world. But it is making Biden look absolutely ridiculous. And I know you broke it down in your monologue at the top of the show, but we don't necessarily have any great options when it comes to an immediate replacement for Biden if you're looking at Kamala Harris or at Nancy Pelosi. So it is an incredibly concerning time to not only be in the United States, but to see exactly where the United States is headed, especially as it keeps trying to play around with World War III, and it does not look like the Biden administration is backing down anytime soon on this one.
Well, look, I said when Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton, I'm not happy that Donald Trump is the president of the United States, but I'm very happy that Hillary Clinton isn't. I've got to put it to you, it's a controversial point of view amongst many of my supporters, but I'm convinced of it, that it would have been better for the world if Trump had beaten Joe Biden.
Yeah, I mean, we're in that spot right now where I don't know exactly where we would be if Donald Trump had beaten Joe Biden. However, given everything that the Biden administration has done, especially with ramping up, I mean, we just saw this last few weeks, Congress came together magically and they passed a historic $13.6 billion in funding to Ukraine, nearly half of which goes to prop up Ukraine's military. And so, if we had Trump in office, I'm curious to see how he would respond to it. But with Biden, it seems as if he's got something he's trying to prove here. And as if he genuinely thinks that he can push for an overthrow of Vladimir Putin. And he doesn't seem to see the part where in order to even go forward with trying to make that happen, that means World War III, and that means the possibility of nuclear war. I mean, this is not Saddam Hussein in Iraq. This is not, any of the leaders that the U.S. has just come in, overthrown, and then done whatever they wanted to with their country. And I think we're really seeing the writing on the wall right now as you see the U.S. and its Western allies saying that they're going to come together and essentially sanction Russia out of the civilized world. And then you have countries like China, India, Saudi Arabia that are kind of taking a step back here and saying, well, no, not so fast. I don't think you realize just how much the global economy relies on Russia when it comes to natural resources. And yet another comment that Joe Biden made there, which arguably if Donald Trump would have said this, the media would have lost their minds, as they should have in this case. Biden made a comment where he said that the world should get ready for a global food crisis. And for what? For Ukraine, for a country that the majority of Americans can't find on a map. Now, in addition to facing prices at 40-year highs all around our country, in addition to facing skyrocketing gas prices, now we're supposed to be looking at facing a global food crisis because the Biden administration decides that it can't give up in its quest to make sure that Ukraine is propped up and has the leaders that it wants it to have. And also maybe that leads to World War III. I mean, we're getting into this point where nothing makes sense right now.
No, it is surreal. He was very clear about it. There's going to be a global food crisis, and it's going to be real. He's not going to go short of food, of course, although the way he was eating that pizza in the military mess, I'm not sure his teeth do much chomping these days, but none of the elite in America are going to suffer a global food crisis. It's the poor of your country, my country, and around the world. It's them that are going to face a global food crisis. It's them that are going to pay the price of the skyrocketing inflation, including fuel costs, but not limited to fuel costs. Gas, petrol, the price of generating electricity, the cost of manufacturing because of Russia's huge contribution in raw materials to the manufacturing process. Even the neon, most of the neon in the world comes from Russia. So get used to seeing the neon lights going out in Las Vegas. All of this for a country that, as you say, nobody knew anything about it except thee and me and a few select others just a month or two ago. It just doesn't make any sense, as you put it.
Yeah, and you see, it's been crazy to see, too, just the movement of people on social media that are there saying hashtag pray for Ukraine and that are condemning Russia. And yet these are people who have no idea about the 2014 coup. They have no idea what the Azov battalion is, or that the U.S. has been called out time and time again for funding far-right neo-Nazi groups. They act as if this is a conflict that just started a few weeks ago and that it is so clear-cut and that there is no U.S. involvement to it. And it's been incredibly concerning to watch just how quickly so many people have jumped on board with that, because at the end of the day, when you're defending censorship, when you're calling for people to be completely deplatformed off of the internet, you may be doing that because you don't agree with them or it makes no difference in your life whether they're on Twitter, YouTube, or not. But what you're doing is you're setting in motion an incredibly troubling precedent. And this is not going to end with just Russia and Ukraine. This is going to be something that is used again and again. And it really is the next forefront of propaganda that we're seeing rolling out here. And here in the United States, the two major parties are both magically on board with it. It's funny how that happens.
Hands across the aisle. Rachel Blevins, a joy to see you back on our show again. Thank you very much indeed.